Hi, welcome to Mindful Chatting. I want to share a hobby with you that a few weeks ago I just started. I decided to learn how to make sourdough bread. And honestly, I thought I was just picking up this fun hobby that everyone was kind of doing or that I was seeing online. And I thought, hey, I'll try it out myself. I expected to learn about like flour and fermentation and hydration percentages and maybe even how to make a decent loaf of bread. What I didn't expect, though, was for sourdough to completely change the way I think about my ADHD and my time management. Because somewhere between feeding the starter and folding the dough, I realized something. I've been planning my life wrong. Not because my planner was wrong or not because my routines were wrong, but because I was planning my days as if I owned the entire day. And that's just simply not true. In today's episode, we're going to unpack this and what I've learned while making sourdough, and we're going to do it together.
Welcome to Mindful Chatting, a podcast where therapy meets real life. I'm Kristen, a therapist, business owner, and a lifelong student of what it means to fully show up in our relationships, in our work, and in our healing. Here, we unpacked mental health concepts, explore mindfulness tools, and talk through the messy, beautiful, in-between moments that shape us. Whether you're a fellow clinician, a curious listener, or someone navigating your own growth, this space is for you. Let's chat.
So, when I first started making sourdough, I assumed I would just block off my Sunday that I had off, and Sunday would just be make bread, right? Easy enough. And except that's just not how sourdough works. You feed the starter for like 2 days before you actually need to make bread. And then you wait the day of and you mix the dough, and then you wait, and then you stretch and fold, and then you wait 30 more minutes again, and then you repeat. And then you wait again and you shape it and it rests overnight. And then the bread isn't asking for 12 interrupted hours. It's asking for your attention in specific moments. And that's when something clicked for me as I was doing this one Sunday. I wasn't making bread all day. I was making bread for 30 minutes over and over and over again. And then everything else happened in between that. And that realization kind of changed everything about how I plan my time and time blindness. And I stopped planning for the whole day and I started planning for the next 30 minutes, which was a huge realization for me. And I think one of the biggest challenges for people with ADHD is something called time blindness. And we often struggle to accurately estimate how much time we actually have, how long tasks will take you, and how much you can realistically fit into that day. And I know I do this and I struggle with this all the time because I'll look at my to do list and think I can probably get all of this done today. And then life happens, a phone call, maybe the kids need something, the dog wants to go out, I have to make some lunch, answer one or email that maybe will turn into five. And then suddenly it's 3 o'clock and I feel like, where did my time go? And I feel like maybe I failed the day. But I am asking myself, did I fail? Or did I plan for an imaginary version of what my day should have looked like? So, the sourdough hobby actually forced me to stop pretending that I had this unlimited amount of time. Instead, it taught me to ask, what time do I actually have available to me? And what can I realistically do with that amount of time? And that's a completely different question when I'm planning my time. So, sourdough taught me that every 30 minutes becomes my anchor because I have to, let's say, feed the starter. And then maybe I stretch and fold. And then maybe I stretch and fold again. Maybe I shape the dough. Maybe I'm baking. Instead of looking at my planner and seeing like one giant Sunday of to do lists, I see small windows of time. And maybe I have 25 minutes before the next fold. Perfect. I can unload the dishwasher. I can answer 3 emails. I can play with my daughter. I can fold a load of laundry or maybe record some short form content. But notice what's changed. I wasn't trying to maximize my day. I was simply making good use of the time that actually existed for me. And I started wondering, what if we approached our entire lives this way? And maybe we've been going about planning all wrong when it comes to our ADHD.
Okay, quick pause. because you've ever found yourself rewinding this episode like 3 times because your brain just drifted, this is for you. I hear this all the time. I can focus, just not when I actually need to. And that's exactly what the focus course is about. Because here's the truth. ADHD isn't a lack of attention, it's a regulation issue, which is why some days you're locked in for hours and other days you're rereading the same sentence, wondering what just happened. So inside my executive functioning focus course, I break this down in a way that actually makes sense for you. We go through how your attention works in your brain, your specific focus patterns, why you get distracted externally and internally, and how to actually build a system that helps you stay on track and come back when you drift. Because the goal isn't perfect focus, it's knowing how to return without spiraling. So if you're tired of blaming yourself and you just want something that actually works with your brain, I'll link the focus course in the show notes. All right, let's get back to this episode.
And this realization had honestly been one of the biggest mindset shifts as I was doing this hobby that I've had in a long time. And I realized I was constantly planning based on what I wanted to accomplish instead of actually what time I had. And I'd make these beautiful, ambitious plans because on paper they looked possible to me. And I wasn't really accounting for transitions, interruptions, meals, family, commuting, and simply just being human. And so sourdough and this hobby kind of forced me to respect my time into smaller pieces. And strangely enough, it started feeling less rushed for me, not because I had more time. The time has always been the same, but because I stopped pretending I had time that didn't actually exist. And so this planning strategy I've started using. So instead of asking, what can I finish today? I started asking myself, what fits before my next anchor, or basically my next thing that I have to do for my bread? So I thought, how can I use the same capacity for days that maybe I have off that are not about bread? So, first, we have to identify an anchor. And these are little events that naturally divide up your day. So, it could be like school drop offs, meetings, lunch, picking up your kids, working out, appointments, dinner, bedtime. Your day already actually has anchors attached to them. You don't need to create them. You just need to actually notice when these anchors are happening within your day. And then we need to start planning between our anchors. Instead of planning for the whole day, we plan the window of time before and after an anchor. So maybe you have 45 minutes before your next meeting. What realistically fits within that 45 minutes that you can get done? Not ideally, realistically. And then I want you to work with your capacity that you have. So, not every window is going to have the same energy. A 30-minute window at like 9 a.m. is going to feel very different than like 30 minutes at 8:30 at night. So, I want you to honor your energy as much as your schedule does. So, when you think about these windows, I don't want you to just think about your to do list and dividing it up. I want you to think like, am I going to have the same energy I have at noon as I'm going to have at 9 a.m.? And that may also actually be switched. You might actually have more energy at noon. So those are the tasks that I'm going to throw into maybe the 30, 45-minute window that I might actually have time and capacity for. And then I want you to think about protecting these transition times. So I think one mistake many ADHD planners make is scheduling tasks back to back. But our brains need a lot more time for transitions. And so, walking to the car, putting materials away, using the restroom, taking a breath, those minutes matter and should be scheduled in within that buffer time. So, for an example, is if I'm tucking and folding my dough and then I'm going to set it down and it's going to be there for 30 minutes. I schedule at least 5 minutes to wash my hands, maybe clean up the kitchen, transitioning before I go into my garage and work out. And so that actually is, I only have 20 minutes to work out before my next anchor instead of the actual 30. So you need to schedule those transition or buffer times before you go into your next anchor. And this goes into resetting at the next anchor. If the last window didn't go as planned, don't scrap the whole day. I know that's what your ADHD and your all or nothing thinking wants you to do. I want you to just start again at the next anchor. Just like sourdough, the next fold is just another opportunity for you to rise. So, what does this mean for ADHD planning? This lesson became one of the foundations for how I think about my planning. Because ADHD planning isn't really about finding the perfect planner. It's about learning to see time very differently for yourself. So we often think in extremes when we have ADHD. Either I have enough time to finish the whole project or I don't start at all. That's that all or nothing thinking. But life rarely really actually works that way. Most meaningful progress happens in these small, intentional pockets of time. And once I started planning around those pockets instead of the entire day, I became a lot more consistent. I became less overwhelmed and honestly much kinder to myself. It's one of the biggest reasons I've developed what I call a layered approach to planning because no single planner or calendar can do absolutely everything for you. You need systems that help you see your time from different perspectives, the big picture, the week ahead, the small windows, and that's what makes your progress actually possible for you. And we dive in so much deeper within the next couple of months of these episodes, but I dive in way deeper if you're interested in about the ADHD planning system that I'm creating. So here's your weekly challenge though. This week, I don't want you to plan your entire day if you have a day off. Instead, I want you to write down what are the anchors of the day and then ask yourself this simple question. What realistically can I fit before my next anchor happens that day? And I just want you to try it for a week. I think you'll be surprised by how much calmer planning begins to feel and how maybe less overwhelmed, and you might actually get a lot more stuff done. If there's one thing that sourdough taught me, and one thing that I want you to take about this episode wasn't about really bread at all. It taught me that time isn't one giant container just waiting for me to fill it up. It's a collection of all these small little opportunities throughout the day. And maybe ADHD planning isn't about squeezing more into your day. Maybe it's about learning to see more opportunities more clearly that you have throughout your day. Because once I stopped planning for the whole day, I started planning for the next 30 minutes. And I stopped feeling like I was constantly falling behind and not getting enough done. I actually started to feel capable about what I was able to get done. And sometimes changing the way that we see time changes the way we see ourselves and what we have available to us. So I want to thank you for joining me. And as always, be gentle with your mind.
If you're listening to this and thinking, this is exactly what I struggle with, I want you to know that I built something specifically for you. The EF, or Executive Functioning Activation course, walks you through why task initiation feels so hard with your ADHD and how to actually get yourself moving without shame, pressure, or burnout. It's short, practical, and designed for ADHD brains, not productivity culture. If starting is your biggest barrier, this course gives you structure, language, and tools that actually work for you. You'll find the link in the show notes. One more thing before you go, and this helps me personally staying present and grounded, which we all need, especially when your brain wants to spiral into disconnection. Me too. It's Brain FM. It's musically designed to help ADHD brains, well, really anyone's brain, focus, relax, or sleep, and I use it almost daily. If you want to try it, I've dropped my link in the show notes. And if you're looking for planning tools or ADHD-friendly resources, I'll keep a list of my favorite links in every episode.